Hi everybody, I'm Josh Earl, and after watching video for the Philadelphia 76ers and the Orlando Magic as part of preparation for our season previews on those teams, I was really struck by how few of their young core players are good shooters, especially from three-point range. Both teams are seemingly following the same template when it comes to choosing draft prospects. They're asking, are they long? Are they athletic? And do they have a defensive mindset? If a player checks those three boxes, neither team seems that concerned if they don't shoot well from three. I think some of this is just a systemic thing across the NBA. We're seeing a lot more teams employ shooting specialist coaches. And of course, there's very visible players such as Kawhi Leonard, the reigning finals MVP, who fulfill that narrative of a player going from a dud from three-point land in college to a stud on the NBA level from three. I think teams are starting to view three-point shooting as something that can be trained somewhat easily. It can be developed fairly simply. So I wanted to explore whether players can go from three-point duds in college to three-point studs in the NBA. So I looked at all of the draft classes who had completed their 4-year rookie scale contracts since the 2004 draft, when new rules were introduced to curtail hand checking, clarified blocking fouls, and call defensive 3 seconds to open up the game. In other words, the rules that have really kind of increased the importance of floor spacing and thus three-point shooting. This left me with the 2004 through 2010 draft classes. And I only wanted to look at players who would play the perimeter in the NBA. So even if they're bigs, unless they're tweener forwards who are likely to get some minutes at the 3 on the NBA level, I kind of excluded bigs and focused primarily on perimeter players and those aforementioned tweeners. From those 7 draft classes, I looked at players who shot below average from 3 in D1 in both their final college season and over their college career. This wound up giving me a sample of 19 players. Of those 19 players, just 3 wound up having a rookie scale average three-point percentage over that 35.82 NBA average three-point percentage. So in other words, just 15.8% of the players fitting that criteria wound up going from a three-point dud to a three-point stud. And those players were Mike Conley, Drew Holiday, and Patty Mills. And out of that 19-player sample, only 5 players, or just 26.4% of the sample, have a to-date NBA career three-point percentage above league average. Those players are Chris Duhon, Mike Conley, Eric Gordon, Drew Holiday, and Patty Mills. Now, of course, three-point percentage doesn't necessarily tell you everything about how good a shooter is, because volume does matter. In a very great article on nylon calculus by Daryl Blackport, his research shows that the threshold at which a player's three-point percentage tends to stabilize is at 750 three-point attempts and more. Of the 12 players that have taken over 750 three-point attempts to date in their career so far, only 25% have a stabilized career three-point percentage over league average. Mike Conley, Eric Gordon, Drew Holiday, and Chris Duhon. Now, I know you're thinking that 19 players is a really small sample size to draw any conclusions from, and I completely agree. However, let's say I expand the inclusion criteria. So let's say I expand it to include all players from the 2004 through 2010 draft classes who shot below 34.45% from 3 in their final college season or over their college career. So the sample still stays small, but it increases up to 32 players. Now, out of that expanded sample of 32 players, only 5 players, or 15.6%, wound up with a rookie scale average three-point percentage above the NBA league average. Those players were Randy Foye, Mike Conley, Drew Holiday, Patty Mills, and Gordon Hayward. And when looking at career three-point percentage to date, only 8 of the 32 players, or 1 in 4, have shot above that NBA average three-point percentage of 35.82%. The aforementioned 6, along with Chris Duhon and Royal Ivey. And only 6 of the 32, or roughly 18.75% of that 32 player sample, have shot above NBA average from 3 over their careers to date on over 750 three-point attempts. So even the expanded sample size is too small to draw any definitive answers. And I do have to mention 17 of the 32 players shot above NBA average from 3 in at least one of their rookie scale seasons. But it does help clarify things a little bit and reduce uncertainty a little. While it's possible for a below average three-point shooter in college to become an above average three-point shooter in the NBA, it doesn't seem to happen that often. Especially within the rookie scale contracts, where at the end you often have to decide whether to extend them to at a much higher price than they were the first 4 years, without any assurance that their three-point shooting is going to be above average. But let's expand this even further. If we look at the draft classes since 2010, the ones that haven't finished their rookie scale contracts yet, there are 15 players that would fit the initial inclusion criteria. And to date, only 5, or 33.3%, of them have an NBA career three-point shooting percentage above average. Kawhi Leonard, shout out Spurs, Bradley Beal, Jared Cunningham, Chris Middleton, and Ray McCallum. And none of those players have crossed the stabilization threshold of 750 three-point attempts yet. And if we use the expanded criteria, the secondary criteria, that would give us 27 players that would qualify from those more recent drafts after 2010. Only 9 out of those 27, or 1/3, have to date career three-point percentages over the NBA average of 35.82%. And of those 9 players, only Chandler Parsons and Isaiah Thomas have taken more than the 750 threshold three-point attempts in their careers to date. So even if we're taking into consideration the broader inclusion criteria and players who haven't yet finished their rookie scale contracts, the highest success rate of a player going from a three-point dud to a three-point stud is just 33.3%, or 1 in 3. What might this mean for the Sixers or the Magic, who have most of their young core struggling from 3 in college and the NBA so far? It means it's possible that they may see one of their players develop into an above average three-point shooter, but it's unlikely that multiple core players who fit that criteria will go on to become above average three-point shooters. That said, I guess we'll have to wait and see if the Sixers and Magic can hit a success rate greater than 1 in 3. Hopefully, this video hit a success rate greater than 1 in 3, and hopefully you liked this. If you did, feel free to give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, feel free to give it a thumbs down. And if you have any thoughts on the video that can't be expressed simply through thumb gestures, please comment below. Also, feel free to share this video on Facebook, Twitter, carrier pigeons, through interpretive dance, or any other way that you see fit. And you can hit subscribe if you want to be notified of our future videos. We'll have plenty more coming up that address questions like this. And I also wanted to give a very big shout out to Keith Allison for his awesome photos included in this video. Check his stuff out at keithallisonphoto.com. Thanks so much for watching, everyone.